our origin story, has its root in the fact that the core team, the founding team, including myself, we worked at a company called D-Wave Quantum, and they're a quantum computing, pioneering company based in Burnaby, which is a suburb of Vancouver, and they're public now, and they've got a $13 billion market cap because quantum computing is hot. We were part of a business unit that was, working on probabilistic and generative models and AI, but not quantum. And so our business unit, which was called Quadrant, was really focused on the commercialization of machine learning apart from quantum. However, in 2019, D-Wave had to focus very much on quantum computing and said, hey, look, we're going to have to let you guys go and shut down the business unit. And so they said, go be free, do whatever you want, just don't do quantum computing. We said, no problem. And so we went off and we looked at molecular property prediction and optimization. We published a paper that had showed results that outperformed all the other, sort of benchmarks. People like Tommy Akala from MIT and Alan Asper-Guzik at the Matter Lab at U of T and DJ Pandey at Stanford. And so we benchmarked it and like, hey, we're awesome. Let's go start a drug discovery company. And of course, this is why we don't trust benchmarks or anything because they're completely useless. So filled with this false, confidence born of complete ignorance, we thought like, yeah, that sounds really cool because who wants to do computer vision and this and that, and we want to do like molecules. And we were looking at other sort of applications of molecules like, you know, polymers, OLED materials, scents and fragrances, things because we were also like, well, we don't know anything about, biotech. We don't want to kill anybody. So let's try and do this first. But then, we'd go and talk to these companies and they'd be like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Where are you going to get the data to train? And we're like, well, and they go like, you're not getting our data. And plus, how much data do you need? And we said, oh, like, yeah, I guess we could work with millions or tens of millions of samples. And they're like, like, sorry, man. Like, and we realized that it was still at that time very much an experimentally driven science, right? It's all empirical, right? And you don't need these fancy schmancy sort of like AI models to tell you when you could just work on the bench, use automated labs, and get some really good signals. So we realized that that's not a good place to go. And then we reluctantly, because I knew enough about biotech that I knew nothing about biotech. So we're like, okay, well, I guess we're going into biotech because that's where the data is. Um, and we quickly realized that, yeah, there are a lot of companies doing this, and it's a very, very big problem, and that developing drugs is really, really, really hard. Um, and I'm surprised that any drugs actually get approved. It's just insane. That said, we quickly started learning about all of the challenges. And if there was a stupid tree, we fell down and hit every branch on the way down, and learned a lot of failures, a lot of testing and going like, hey, how come that? Oh, I guess that was completely wrong. To the extent where we made a lot of mistakes, and we're a lot smarter, or maybe I should say we're a lot less stupid than we were. But we're still very wide-eyed and aware of the fact that there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. Yet at the same time, what's that saying? If you're in a group being chased by a grizzly, you don't have to be the fastest, just not the slowest, right? And so for us, we're very practical and realistic that we don't have to have solved drug discovery, right? And sometimes I read, commentary about like, yeah, they did this, but who cares? The real problem is that. I'm like, yeah, okay, but if you can solve, parts of the problem at different stages, then eventually you get there. We're not saying that we have this black box and the genie that's going to create a drug. And I think a lot of people when they hear AI, they think of this all-knowing, powerful sage that can just whip up molecules at the drop of a hat that are going to go into humans and have this wonderful. Like, no, that's not what we're trying to do. It's not what anyone is really trying to do. So I think that it's that old saying: there's no silver bullet. There's just a lot of lead bullets. And so we focused on the areas and the parts of the discovery phase. We don't do anything about development. Like I don't know what's going on, but there are a lot of companies working in that, and that's awesome. And you're going to need a whole bunch of different approaches in AI in order to get there. And we don't presume to say that we've got an answer there. I mean, maybe we are really good at making these like window openers move faster than normal, but we're not trying to build a car, right? And that Derek Lowe was who we're big fans of, said, oh, drug discovery, you're just like making your window openers faster, who cares? But making a car is like, well, we get it, right? But the fact of the matter is I think like the biggest car window manufacturers are like $9 billion a year in revenue. And like, that's not bad, right? And so, we're taking a very stepwise approach to all of this.